Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about something divine, something destined, something powerful that lives inside of you. This message is not for everyone. It is only for future millionaires, and if you found your way here, it is no accident. You've been led. You've been called. You are chosen. The power of the spoken word, the power of a divine declaration, is not mere motivation, it is spiritual law. You see, every great transformation, every miracle, every fortune ever manifested began with a word, backed by unwavering faith. And in this moment, I declare over you, prosperity is your birthright. Wealth is not something to chase, it is something to claim, to believe, to embody. The word of God says, "Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." When you speak it, with belief, doors open, paths clear, resources rush to meet you. Not because of effort alone, but because of alignment. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Your belief right now is the soil. Your words are the seeds, and your millionaire future, that's the harvest. So, today, I challenge you, not to work harder, but to believe deeper. To speak with authority, to walk with divine confidence. Because this message, this truth, is for the one who's ready to become the vessel for abundance, the magnet for miracles, the future millionaire this world is waiting for. Your words are prophetic tools. What you declare in faith, you invite into form. Millionaires are born first in speech, then in reality. This is not just a statement of inspiration, it is a spiritual law, an invisible mechanism of divine manifestation. The world may teach you to hustle first, to grind endlessly, to sweat for every drop of success. But the spiritual world teaches you that the first act of creation is always spoken. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Not after action, not after planning, but after the word. Your future begins the moment your mouth aligns with your belief, the moment you declare boldly, confidently, and repeatedly what it is you seek to manifest. The spoken word is not idle. It is charged with energy, frequency, and faith. It does not disappear into the air. It takes root in the unseen and shapes the seen. When you say, "I am wealthy," "I am a millionaire," or "I walk in divine abundance," you are not lying to yourself. You are prophesying over your life. You are stepping into your spiritual inheritance. Too many people cancel their blessings by speaking the opposite of what they desire. They say they're broke. They say money is hard to come by. They say they never get ahead. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But you can't sow words of lack and expect a harvest of overflow. You must speak what you want, not what you fear. If your words are weapons, then let them fight for your future. If your words are seeds, then plant only what you want to grow. Millionaires understand this truth, even if they don't always name it spiritually. They affirm their success. They repeat their goals. They visualize and verbalize their desires until they become tangible. That's not coincidence. It's alignment. It's tapping into the laws of the universe that Florence Scovel Shinn spoke of so powerfully, the law of prosperity, the law of increase, the law of expectancy. You cannot rise above the level of your words. If your mouth is stuck in survival, your life will never touch abundance. But if your mouth begins to declare overflow, to claim divine supply, to speak as though it already is, your life has no choice but to follow. You were not made to suffer under your circumstances. You were made to speak to the mountain and see it move. Every time you say, "I can't," you build a wall. Every time you say, "I will," you build a door. God responds to your faith, not your fear. The universe mirrors your energy, not your excuses. And your future listens closely to the words you choose today. Declare boldly, even when nothing looks like it's changing. Declare victory when it still feels like loss. Declare wealth when your account is empty. Not because you're delusional, but because you're deliberate. Because you understand that every millionaire reality begins with a millionaire mouth. Think back to every turning point in your life. Somewhere, somehow, you likely spoke something different. You said, "I'm done living this way." You said, I know I was made for more. You said, things are going to change. And they did, not just because you acted, but because your words were the spark. They were the ignition to your faith. They sent a signal to heaven and to your own subconscious mind that the old you was over, that a new version was being born. The moment you speak in alignment with divine truth, everything starts to shift. Even when it's not immediate, it's inevitable. Words shape your reality like a potter shapes clay. Speak with care, speak with power, speak with holy authority. Speak as a co-creator with God. Speak not just what you want, but what you know is yours by divine right. Millionaires don't speak scarcity, they speak systems, solutions, and success. They don't focus on what they don't have. They build on what they believe is coming. If your bank account says one thing, but your mouth says another, give your mouth the final say. Because your account can change, your circumstances can shift, your surroundings can evolve, but it starts with the declaration. The word, the prophecy. Everything in this world was spoken before it was seen. The chair you sit in, the clothes you wear, the device in your hand, all were ideas first, words second, reality third. The process is sacred, and your future wealth follows the same divine formula. You must dare to say it before you see it. Dare to believe it before you hold it. Dare to speak it so frequently that it becomes the atmosphere you breathe. That's the faith walk. That's the millionaire mindset. You don't wait for confirmation, you speak it into confirmation. You don't wait for evidence, you speak it into existence. Every word you speak is either building a palace or digging a pit. So choose wisely, speak purposefully. Know that heaven listens, the universe listens, and most importantly, you listen. Your spirit listens, your subconscious listens, and what you repeat, you eventually believe. What you believe, you eventually become. Divine supply is unlimited, but it flows only where belief removes the dam of doubt. Prosperity begins where fear ends. We live in a universe that is abundant beyond measure. Look around. There is no shortage of stars in the sky, no limit to the grains of sand on the shore, no end to the air you breathe. This is not a world of lack, it is a world of divine plenty. But while supply is limitless, access is conditional, and that condition is faith. Not the kind of faith that merely hopes things will get better, but the kind that knows. Knows with unwavering certainty that what is yours is already prepared, already waiting, already done in the invisible. Faith is not just belief in God. It is belief in God's promises, belief in divine law, belief in your own worthiness to receive. You cannot step into the life of a millionaire if you're constantly rehearsing lack in your mind. You can't expect abundance to flow if doubt is standing at the gates. Doubt is the thief of prosperity. It blocks the channel, shuts down the current, and interrupts the divine transaction. God's supply is never the problem. It is your inner atmosphere that determines what comes through. Are you a receiver, or are you a resistor? Many people pray for more, but think in limits. They speak in need, but expect miracles. That contradiction is why their lives stay stagnant. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot say, I believe, and I fear, in the same breath and expect clarity. The energy is confused, and so the result is confusion. But when you clear your inner space of fear, when you stop questioning whether you're worthy, when you remove the lies of limitation, you make room for divine overflow. You open the floodgates. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Fear is man's only enemy." That statement reveals everything. It's not the economy. It's not your background. It's not your education. It's not your circumstances. It's fear, and fear alone, that keeps most people from stepping into their divine inheritance. Fear of failing, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough, fear that it won't work out. But those fears are illusions. They are shadows. They only seem real because you've rehearsed them long enough to become familiar. But familiarity is not truth. Faith is truth. And faith says, what God has for me is already mine. When you start believing that divine supply is unlimited, and that you are entitled to access it as a child of God, everything changes. Your posture changes. Your language changes. Your energy changes. You no longer come from a place of begging. You come from a place of claiming. You stop asking whether you'll ever be wealthy, and you start declaring that wealth flows to you easily, abundantly, and without resistance. You stop seeking outside validation, and you start operating with inner knowing. The kind of knowing that cannot be shaken by delay, by opposition, or by temporary circumstances. You must train your mind to believe what your spirit already knows. That's why affirmations are powerful. That's why declarations matter. That's why you must surround yourself with truth, not noise. Because the world is filled with messages of scarcity. Every headline screams fear. Every voice around you may echo doubt. But you are called to tune into a higher frequency. The frequency of abundance, of divine promise, of spiritual law. When you do, lack no longer makes sense to you. Struggle no longer feels familiar. Because you've shifted from the natural to the supernatural, from worry to wisdom, from fear to faith. Doubt may still knock, but you don't have to answer. You can look it in the eye and say, I choose to believe, over and over. Until belief becomes your default setting, until faith becomes your home. Every time you say, there is more than enough, you are tearing down a wall of fear. Every time you say, money flows to me freely, you are opening a window of possibility. And every time you say, I am aligned with divine supply, you are building a bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the promise and the provision. You don't need to know how it will come. That's not your job. Your job is to believe it will come, to act like it's already on the way, to live in expectancy, not in desperation. Because desperation repels, but expectation attracts. The universe responds to certainty. God responds to bold faith. And when you remove doubt from the equation, you allow miracles to happen on a regular basis, not as exceptions, but as expressions of a spiritual law that is always working in your favor. When you feel doubt creeping in, don't wrestle with it. Replace it. Speak a higher truth. Replace, I don't know if this will work, with, everything is working for my good. Replace, I'm afraid I'll fail, with, I am guided by divine wisdom and success is inevitable. Every time you replace fear with faith, you shift the flow. You activate the supply. You align with the abundance that was already yours before you were even born. Every delay in your breakthrough is a test of your alignment, not a denial of your destiny. The universe never says no to a soul aligned with its divine purpose. It only says wait, not yet, hold steady. But most people misread the pause as punishment. They interpret delay as denial, and in doing so, they step out of faith and into fear. They abandon their declarations, question their worth, and allow doubt to corrode the vision they once carried with conviction. But delay is never meant to destroy, it is meant to refine. It is a furnace, not a funeral. A holy silence where the universe watches to see if you truly believe what you've been declaring. In the spiritual realm, time is not a punishment, it is preparation. Delay is divine strategy. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every morning to see if it's growing. You trust the process. You water it, you wait, you remain consistent. Why? Because you understand the law of the harvest. You understand that though you can't see the roots, something is taking place beneath the soil. Your faith must operate the same way. You speak the word, you act in alignment, and you trust the delay. You trust that what you cannot see is more real than what you can. Millionaires in spirit understand this principle. They do not panic in delay. They do not question the process every time there is a pause. They anchor themselves in divine truth and remind themselves that delay is a test of character, of focus, of clarity. It is the proving ground of purpose. The delay asks, will you still believe it when it doesn't look like it's happening? Will you still speak life over your future when all the evidence is missing? Will you walk by faith or retreat to what feels safe, even if it means returning to smallness? The ones who rise are not those who avoid delay, but those who endure it with grace, with discipline, and with relentless belief. They keep showing up. They keep speaking. They keep investing in their mindset, in their vision, in their next level, even when no one else sees what they see, even when there are no signs. Because delay to them is not a warning. It is a whisper from the universe that says, I am building something bigger than you can currently comprehend. Hold the vision. Every divine calling requires the testing of time. Abraham waited. Joseph waited. David waited. Each one had a promise spoken over them before the reality ever showed up. And the waiting shaped them. The waiting humbled them. The waiting sharpened their clarity and strengthened their voice. And when the moment came, they didn't step into their destiny fragile. They stepped in fortified, ready, prepared by the very delay they once resented. That is how divine timing works. It doesn't rush. It doesn't skip steps. It aligns things perfectly, both outside of you and within you. When you learn to trust the delay, you move into a rare power. You stop panicking and you start preparing. You stop begging and you start building. You use the waiting season not to doubt your gift, but to deepen your faith. You refine your habits, elevate your standards, and act as if what you want is already yours. Because that's what alignment means. It means you think, speak, feel, and move as though the promise is present, even if it's not visible yet. The invisible always precedes the visible. When you ask the universe for something big, like becoming a millionaire, you're not just asking for money. You're asking for identity, for responsibility, for a new level of consciousness. And the delay is the space in which you become that version of yourself. It's not withholding, it's preparing. Preparing you for what you said you wanted. Preparing you to carry the wealth, not just receive it. Preparing you to steward abundance with wisdom, not squander it out of fear. If the breakthrough came too soon, it would crush you. But when it comes after refinement, it will carry you. People often say, it's not happening fast enough. But the truth is, it's happening in exact harmony with your growth. You are not waiting on the universe. The universe is waiting on you. Waiting on you to stop doubting, to stop wavering, to stop shrinking. Waiting on you to align, to believe fully, to act boldly. Because the moment your internal state becomes a true match for the life you desire, nothing can stop it from arriving. Delay is not resistance. Delay is divine orchestration. It's the perfect unfolding of a higher plan that sees what you cannot see and knows what you do not know. Let the delay build your roots before it blesses your branches. Let it teach you how to walk with vision, not with sight. Because when you master the art of still believing in the absence of proof, you move into a space where miracles become inevitable. The delay isn't empty, it's full of purpose. It is proof that the dream is real and the universe is serious about your success. Because if it were small, it would have come easy. But because it's big, it must come right. You don't chase wealth, you attract it by becoming its rightful steward. Through discipline, vision, and unshakable faith. The world teaches hustle and grind, as if money responds to motion alone. But in truth, money responds to energy, intention, and identity. It flows not just to those who work hard, but to those who are in alignment with abundance. Wealth is not a destination, it is a vibration. And when your thoughts, emotions, and habits resonate with that vibration, you no longer have to run after prosperity. It begins to recognize you, seek you, and dwell with you. Chasing implies separation. It means you believe that what you desire is somewhere out there, always ahead of you, always out of reach. But attracting is rooted in identity. It is grounded in the belief that what you seek is already seeking you. That the moment you become the version of yourself who can handle millions, millions begin to make their way toward you. The shift is internal first. It's not about doing more, it's about becoming more. Becoming the kind of person who can manage wealth with wisdom, who can multiply resources with grace, and who can stay grounded even while rising. A steward does not stumble into wealth, they are prepared for it. They think differently, they move differently. They respect money, but they don't idolize it. They organize their life in a way that invites overflow. That means setting standards. That means eliminating waste, distraction, and self-sabotage. That means no longer treating money like a mystery, but like a mirror. It reflects how you think, what you believe, and how you behave. If money avoids you, ask yourself, am I the kind of person wealth would feel safe with? Am I chaotic, undisciplined, fearful? Or am I grounded, clear, and purpose-driven? Vision is what gives wealth direction. Without vision, money is just noise. It comes and goes without impact. But when you have vision, wealth becomes a tool, a servant to purpose. It is drawn to clarity. If you don't know what you'd do with $1 million, why would $1 million be assigned to you? The universe does not waste resources. God does not pour abundance into vessels with no intention. Vision gives you authority. It tells heaven you're ready. It tells opportunity that you are organized. And when your vision is bigger than your fear, money begins to move. Discipline is the container that holds the blessing. Without it, abundance leaks. You can have the right mindset and still miss the mark if your habits don't match your declarations. Discipline means showing up when it's hard. It means protecting your energy. It means managing what you already have before asking for more. The parable of the talents wasn't about how much each person received. It was about what they did with it. The faithful steward multiplied. The fearful one hid what he had and lost even that. Wealth is not about luck. It's about structure. It's about proving that you can handle increase without falling apart. And then there's faith. The fuel behind it all. Unshakable faith does not need evidence. It needs vision. It needs commitment. It needs repetition. Faith is not passive, it is active. It is expressed in how you speak, how you plan, how you walk into every day. The wealthy do not speak as if they are waiting to see if it will happen. They speak as though it has already happened. That is the language of alignment. They don't question whether money will come. They prepare as if it's already en route. That is the mindset of mastery. Faith says, I don't chase. I magnetize. I don't beg. I expect. You become a magnet for wealth when your internal environment becomes clean and congruent. When you no longer entertain thoughts of lack, when you stop agreeing with struggle, when you stop rehearsing the stories that kept you small. You cannot live like a pauper and expect to think like a king. You cannot keep shrinking and expect to expand. You must become the millionaire mentally before you ever hold it physically. You must train yourself to feel abundant, even when circumstances haven't caught up. Because the moment your inner world changes, the outer world has no choice but to follow. Money is spiritual. It is energy. It is assignment. It wants to go where it will grow. It wants to partner with people who will use it with intention. If you chase it out of desperation, it slips away. But if you rise in identity, discipline your habits, clarify your vision, and stand firm in your faith, money will come to you with ease. You will not have to force it. You will not have to beg for it. Because you've become the version of you that wealth was always trying to find. You've become the steward, the vessel, the light, and in that identity, attraction is natural, inevitable, and sustained. You are not meant to suffer for success. You are meant to surrender to divine timing, speak your truth, and act in spiritual order. The world has glorified the grind, taught people that pain is the price for progress, that burnout is a badge of honor, and that the road to wealth must be paved with relentless struggle. But spiritual law does not operate by force. It operates by flow. It is not through panic and pressure that miracles happen. It is through alignment, trust, and unwavering belief in a higher order that is always working in your favor. Struggle is not proof of worthiness, surrender is. To surrender is not to give up. It is to give over, to release the ego's timeline and trust the divine plan. It is to stop trying to force what's not ready and instead create space for what is divinely prepared. When you surrender, you're not becoming passive. You're becoming powerful. You are saying, I no longer carry this with fear, I carry it with faith. You are stepping out of scarcity and into sufficiency, out of striving and into receiving. And in that space, success no longer has to hurt to be holy. Speaking your truth is a foundational key to unlocking abundance. So many people mute themselves out of fear. Fear of being judged, fear of standing out, fear of failing in public. But silence is expensive. Every time you dim your voice, you shrink your opportunity. Every time you hide your truth, you delay your destiny. You were not given your voice to echo someone else's script. You were given your voice to create, to declare, to command things in alignment with divine will. When you say, I am ready, I am worthy, I am equipped, those are not just words, they are signals. They activate energy. They move things in the unseen. They prepare the atmosphere for manifestation. Spiritual order means placing the invisible before the visible. It means putting faith before facts, intention before outcome, spirit before ego. It means building your life in alignment with universal law, not societal noise. When you operate in spiritual order, you understand that your life is not random. Every connection, every lesson, every delay, every redirection. It's all part of a larger orchestration designed for your expansion. And when you trust that order, you stop panicking when things don't happen how or when you expected. You begin to see with spiritual eyes. You begin to discern divine setup in every setback. You were never meant to exhaust yourself chasing the promise. You were meant to rest in it, speak it, embody it, and act accordingly. The harvest is not a reward for how much you suffer. It's a result of how deeply you believe. Do not confuse movement with progress. Do not confuse exhaustion with effectiveness. Divine success comes through inner peace, not outer pressure, through certainty, not chaos, through calm confidence that says, it is already done, and I am walking it out step by step. There is power in divine timing, because it knows what your mind doesn't. It knows when you're ready. It knows when conditions are ripe. It knows when the path is clear. When you force things prematurely, you often end up with weight you're not ready to carry. But when you trust divine timing, everything you receive comes with ease, clarity, and sustainability. It's not enough to want the blessing. You must be ready for it. And readiness isn't proven through struggle. It's revealed through surrender. When you speak your truth and live in order, you stop looking outside for confirmation. You stop measuring your progress by the world's timeline. You begin to trust your inner compass, your divine guidance, the whisper of God that says, keep going. You are exactly where you need to be. That inner knowing becomes your anchor. And as you align with that truth, success finds you, not because you chased it, but because you became the version of you who was always destined to receive it. Surrender is also about releasing control over how your success comes. It may not come through the people you expect, the methods you predicted, or the plans you made. But it will come. And it will come better than you imagined, because divine intelligence is not bound by your limitations. It sees the full picture. Your role is not to know every detail, but to move with faith and obedience, trusting that what's meant for you will meet you. You don't have to climb over people or break yourself trying to make it happen. You need only to remain in alignment and respond when the door opens. There's a rhythm to abundance, a pace to divine provision. When you are in sync with that rhythm, life flows. You take inspired action, not frantic effort. You rest without guilt. You wait without anxiety. You speak without apology. Because you know who you are, what you're carrying, and who sent you. You know that success is not just what you get, it's who you become in the process. And when you surrender to that process, success is no longer something you pursue. It becomes something you attract naturally, effortlessly, and in perfect order. This message didn't find you by chance. Your millionaire moment begins the instant you stop speaking lack and start declaring overflow. There are no accidents in the spiritual realm, only divine appointments. And if you're hearing these words, it's because your spirit is ready. Your season is shifting, and your next level is calling. The power to step into abundance has always been inside you. But what activates it is not wishing, not waiting, not worrying. It is speaking, declaring, aligning your language with the truth of who you are and the life you are meant to live. Words are not just sounds. They are spiritual containers. They carry vibration, frequency, and direction. Every time you say, I can't, you send your future a message to wait. Every time you say, I'm not enough, you hand over the keys to fear. But every time you say, I am wealthy, I am favored, I am chosen for abundance, you shift your atmosphere. You stir the unseen. You give your future permission to move. You become a partner with the divine, rather than a prisoner of circumstance. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn taught the power of the spoken word. It is the first and most powerful form of creation. You may have been taught to be realistic, to speak only what you can see. But spiritual law flips that entirely. You speak not what is, but what will be. You don't describe your current situation. You declare your divine destination. That's not lying. That's leading your life with faith. And that is how every breakthrough begins. It doesn't begin with money in the bank. It begins with power in the mouth. Your tongue is the pen of your prophecy. What you write with it becomes the script you live out. If your past has been full of lack, struggle, and limitation, that is not your identity. It is your starting point. And what you speak from this moment forward is what determines how your future unfolds. You are not trapped. You are not stuck. You are simply unaligned if your words don't match your desire. There is no need to wait for permission. There is no need to wait for proof. You can begin declaring now, right now. And every declaration you make in faith is a seed being planted into the soil of your destiny. Millionaires are not just those who have money. They are those who speak in alignment with wealth long before it shows up. They don't talk about bills, they talk about blessings. They don't speak of scarcity, they speak of strategy. They don't repeat the narrative of, I'm broke, or, I'm trying. They speak as if it's already done. That's the level of conviction that shifts realities. That's the kind of faith that invites heaven to partner with you. When your words match the vibration of abundance, abundance starts looking for you. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have a perfect plan. You only need to shift your speech. Shift from saying, money is hard, to, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. Shift from saying, I can't afford it, to, I'm preparing to receive all that I need. Shift from saying, I never win, to, everything is working in my favor. These are not just positive affirmations. These are declarations of alignment. They are signals to the universe, signs to your spirit, and instructions to your subconscious to prepare for increase. Lack is not just a condition. It is often a conversation you've been having with yourself for too long. And as long as you speak from lack, you will see lack. As long as you talk about what's missing, you will continue to miss it. But when you change the conversation, you change the conditions. When you change your speech, you change your standard. And when your standard rises, everything around you must rise to match it. This message found you because your language is shifting. Your mindset is evolving. Your spirit is ready to graduate from the language of struggle to the language of surplus. And as you begin to speak with boldness, with clarity, with conviction, doors will open that once felt locked. Ideas will come that once felt impossible. Connections will show up that seem too precise to be coincidence. Because the universe responds not to need, but to belief. Not to desperation, but to declaration. And your declaration must be clear, consistent, and rooted in truth. You are not declaring to convince the world. You are declaring to remind yourself of who you are. You are reminding your soul of its assignment. You are calling your future into the present with every word that you speak in alignment with abundance. And over time, those declarations become identity. That identity becomes action. And that action becomes a new reality. The moment you say, this is my time. I was born for overflow. I attract wealth with ease. You begin to create a new rhythm, a new frequency, a new world. This is how it all begins. Not with external validation, but with internal confirmation. Not with visible results, but with invisible conviction. Not with noise, but with a quiet, consistent voice that dares to say, I am ready. I am able. I am aligned. Because once you stop speaking lack and start declaring overflow, life begins to reorganize itself around your words.